Hello, everyone, and thanks for listening. I know I didn't see what I saw, but I had to double take and look at it again, and I saw what I saw. In fact, and it just seems like right when you think things couldn't get any worse. And so I kind of did a little background on this whole thing. So this has happened before. So as you can see, my title. My title is Food Boxes for Food Stamp Recipients. And so this is a plan under the Trump administration that is about to take place, possibly. And so it goes that Trump administration wants to decide what food SNAP recipients will get. And so I kind of read a couple of articles and then I heard that this program happened a long time ago with a group of people who were on reservations, and they were Indian people. And they said that the food actually was not really that great. And on top of that, it was bad for their health and it caused them to have like type 2 diabetes and some other issues, some health issues, because the food, I guess it's like processed, and then some of it is in cans, so it has a lot of salt. It's high in salt content, and also I believe there may be a lot of starch involved, and so it's not the greatest food choices. And you would think that's what they would look for people, especially even if they don't have a lot of money, that you would care about the well-being of people who otherwise for the so here there's this article and it talks about, which was February the 12th, 2018, and it's by an Erica Hunzinger. Several people actually wrote on this topic, so I guess this is something in the works. And so it goes on to talk about the Trump administration is proposing a major shakeup in one of the country's most important safety net programs, which is the SNAP program, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, formerly known as food stamps. So, under the proposal, the SNAP recipients would lose much of their ability to choose their food and they would buy their SNAP benefits. You know, basically, I guess they're not going to be able to have a. It used to be where they had these little booklets with these little actual, you would tear them out, they would be stamps. But then it changed from that to like a card that would come, like it would have whatever they needed on that card. And the card is called EBT. But now they're trying to change it where you won't even be able to do any of that. And the proposal is included in the Trump administration budget request for fiscal year of 2019. So it would require approval from the Congress first. So it hasn't been totally approved just yet. Under the proposal, which would announce Monday, a low-income Americans would receive at least $90 a month. Just over 80% of all SNAP recipients would get half of their benefits in the form of a USDA food package. So the package was described in the budget as consisting of a shelf-stable milk. It's ready-to-eat cereals and pastas, peanut butters, beans, canned fruit, and vegetables. And the boxes would not include fresh fruit or vegetables. So this is the problem that the people were talking about from a previous situation, that they had this government would send them these food boxes and it wasn't the greatest food choices. So as they state here, so it looks like it's dry goods. And currently the SNAP beneficiaries get money loaded onto an EBT card, like I was saying, so they can use this to buy what they want as long as it falls under its guidelines of what's required. to be purchased on that EBT card. But with the administration, they say that the move is cost effective and a cost effective approach, which no loss in food benefits will happen to participants. So the USDA believes that the state governments will be able to deliver this food at much less cost than SNAP recipients currently pay for food at retail stores, thus reducing the overall cost of the SNAP program by 129 billion over the next 10 years. So basically this is a way to save money once again. So there's always a loophole in this, is to save money. So this and other changes in the SNAP program, according to the Trump administration, will reduce the SNAP budget from 213 billion over those years, cutting the program by 30%. And so Joel Berg, CEO of Hunger Free America, a hunger advocacy group that also helps clients access food assistance services, said that the administration plan left him baffled. So they have managed to propose nearly the impossible, taking over 200 billion worth of food from low-income Americans while increasing bureaucracy and reducing choices, Berg says. So in other words, not everybody is on board with this idea, of course. So he says SNAP is efficient, but it is a free market model. And that lets the recipients shop at stores of their benefits. And the Trump administration proposal, he said, is far more intrusive. It's big government. It's the big government answer. And so they think the bureaucrat in DC is better at picking out what your family needs than you are. So that's the question there. It's like, they kind of are like controlling everything, to the point to even down to where you shop, what you're going to get when you eat. So Trump wants families on food stamps to get jobs, and the majority already work. So that's another thing that's going on. So there's going to be more demand in people working that are on these little programs, which I think trying to pursue a job is a good thing. I don't have anything against trying to pursue work. I think everybody should, if you're able to try to pursue something in a positive sense, so that you're not stuck at home and that you're not giving up on life. And I think it would cause people to be more productive. It may even make people try to get off these programs. And this is just my opinion, because they don't really give you that much anyway to begin with. And so to just sit there and rely on these programs, you know that this day was coming, that eventually they'll phase most of this stuff out. So we are here in this time now. So just as it goes along, it says here that Douglas Greenway, president of the National WIC Association, echoed that sentiment. Removing choices from SNAP flies in the face of encouraging personal responsibility, he said. He says the budget seems to assume that participating in SNAP is a character flaw. It isn't clear how billions of dollars worth of food each year would be distributed to millions of SNAP recipients who live all over the country, including dense urban areas and sparsely populated rural regions. The budget says that the state will have substantial flexibility in designing the food box delivery system through existing infrastructure and partnership and commercial and retail delivery services. So critics of the proposal said that distributing that much food presents a logistical nightmare. And so among the problems, it's going to be it's costly right there, and it takes money out of the SNAP program from the administrative side. So it's going to be stigmatized, or it's going to stigmatize people when they have to go to certain places to pick up benefits. And so Jim Wheel, president of the nonprofit Food Research and Action Center, stated that. So Stacy Bean, vice president for Food Assistance Policy and Center for Budget and Policy Priorities, called the proposal radical and risky. The idea of the government could save money by distributing food itself, she said, it's an ill-formed at best. So it isn't clear whether the boxes will come with the directions on how to cook the foods inside and whatnot. It could be something that SNAP recipients don't even know how to make. Notes Miguelina Diaz, whose team at Hunger Free America works directly with families to help them access food aid. So we deal with different peoples and different backgrounds and walks of life, what have you. So limiting them to providing them a staple box would limit the choices of food they can prepare for the family. So according to Dean CBPP, the Trump administration wants to trim an additional $80 billion from the SNAP program by cutting off the 4 million people who currently receive this assistance program. So they want to cut some people, 4 million. So most of them live in states that have decided to loosen the program's eligibility requirements slightly. Under the administration's proposal, states would no longer be able to do so. So this is a problem. Anybody that's involved in these programs, knows anybody in these programs, might want to run this by them, that this is in the works. So it doesn't look good, and it looks like it may happen relatively soon. So it says that here at the National Grocers Association conference over the weekend, Purdue said that the budget has common sense reforms that call for greater consistency across nutritional programs. So nutrition programs, including SNAP, made up 80% of the USDA budget in the most recent farm bill. So making it the largest portion of the agency spending. About 44 million people participated in SNAP each year, or each month rather, in 2016 at an annual cost of $70.9 billion. So nearly 2/3 were under 18, over 60, or disabled, according to the USD. So Congress largely ignored Trump's proposed budget for SNAP last year. So they ignored it last year, but we don't know what's going to happen this time around. So when he wanted to cut the funding by a quarter, this time it was a farm bill year. So meaning many budgetary decisions will be made among the House and the Senate agriculture committees. So several critics we spoke with expressed skepticism that the proposed SNAP changes would pass in Congress. So it sounds like not too many people are happy about it. So that could be the only saving grace for some individuals who rely on this. But I wouldn't hold my breath, because so far he's pretty much changed a lot of things. It harms the program even if it doesn't pass. So in the long run, reducing support for the program and stigmatizing people who use it. So it sounds like people to do it, and they can't really shop in the store. It's like when you can shop in the store, you don't feel as limited. So it seems like some of the regular liberties that people have just from shopping in the store for certain particular foods, items of their choice, is going to change under this type of program. So I just thought it was interesting, another interesting concept that was coming up relatively soon, outside of all of the other things that have been happening recently. I don't know that people had been paying much attention to this one, because it just seems like right when you're focused on one or two issues, something else arises. I was looking at some other article where it was saying that people who were under pressure about the DACA situation, that some of those people were recipients of this SNAP program, had actually stopped using it because they're in fear of being deported. That, the government would find out who they are, where they're living, or whatever, and be intrusive and then come and try to take people out of their homes. So they're in fear. So they already probably have people that have dropped these programs for that particular reason. So this is going to make it worse, even more so for people who maybe you're not getting deported, but you're going to be affected some kind of way. And this is where I brought that up. I said to people that just because if you're not in the situation where people are worried about being sent elsewhere, or that is on the table, left in the air, don't think that everything is clear and free. So there are people here that are being affected by other issues, such as this program right here. You know, also even with the gentrification, the rents are high, so people who live in some of the areas are being moved about and moved further out of places that they normally were used to living, and so you're still getting affected some type of way. May not be as drastic as leaving the country, but there is some dramatic changes that are being made where people are moving further in areas that where their job is not even close enough, or they're displaced, basically, people. The homeless issue, there's more homeless people. And so that should tell you something. So, there are people that are here that even if they're going to be here, they're still suffering from other issues. So that doesn't mean everybody's free and clear because they're here. You best believe there's going to be something else that's going to crop up. And now we got this thing with the SNAP program. And so on greater number of people right here because some people really heavily rely on these programs. And I'm not saying this to joke about it. I don't think it's funny at all. I don't think any of these things are funny. I mean, I have laughed about some crazy stuff that I've seen happen, but I don't think people losing benefits or losing, certain things is funny. I don't think it's funny. I'm merely like stating the facts of some of these things that maybe that if you hadn't heard about it or you didn't take it serious enough, it's time to really start taking it serious. I don't know if you know anybody who's affected by any of these recent issues, but it's time to really really pay attention to what's going on because it used to be before you could just like look at a little bit of news and you didn't really pay much attention to it. And now you feel like you got to watch it every time. And it's like, okay, how is this? You got to look at the article like, oh, how is this going to affect me? And that's the way things are going now. It's like everybody is worried, about something possibly coming around their backyard, so to speak, affecting them. Well, this is another, you know, I will. And some of these programs in the past I've had to use to get on my feet. I no longer use any of those programs now like that. But I know what it feels like to not have a lot and to be really struggling and you're trying to do the best that you can. But I would advise if you're able, if you have a mind to think for yourself, to try to get up, try to find work, try to do things, try to be productive as much as possible because you really can't rely on these programs because a lot of times, they help you and that's what they are, temporary, and that's the way you should look at it, is temporary. Don't relax and kick back on them and think they're always going to be there because you never know when something will happen and then one day they'll be like, boop, it's gone. We're getting rid of it. We're just trying to save money, or the country's in a deficit or whatever. And so usually the first programs to get hit are the poor people programs, for lack of a better word of saying, is, people who don't have shit, usually are the ones that get hit the hardest. Already you're hit hard, but you get hit harder when, these programs come along. And so that is the unfortunate thing right there. And so I don't know. I feel sorry for a lot of people who have to, go through all of this craziness. I was seeing some stuff recently on the news. March 5th is almost here. And I didn't even really, it didn't dawn on me until I started thinking about it. I was like, oh my God, they got to make a decision quickly for the people that they claim that, they're going to end other programs. And I don't even want to say it, but it's getting crazy. And I fear that something big is going to happen because too many things that affect people who don't have a lot are being seem like they're being attacked, you know, in ways where, it just seems really unfair at the way it's being done. It's like, if you prepare people for something and you say, okay, this and this is what could happen, prepare yourselves. But if you just like, okay, we're taking this away, we're taking that away, and there's not enough time to prepare, that's when people go into shock and panic because they had no forewarning. And even if they had a forewarning, it's still not enough time to really make decisions because, you don't know what people's lives have been like, what they've been through, and what it's going to do to them in the long run. So it just gets crazier and crazier. So anyway, with that being said, this is a sad little situation right here for some people because they have families, they have children and things like that. And so this lady, I think she's up here with her daughter. Her name is Rebecca Ortiz. She offers her daughter a pasta sample at a store where she was using her snaps, her food snap, to stock up on food for her family. And it says that the Trump administration is proposing drastic changes in the food stamp program, now called SNAP, so people getting that aid would lose much of their ability to choose the food they buy. So this is a picture of a woman. She's able to go into a store with her child and be able to choose the food that she needs, but soon that might be over, and you won't see as many people be able to use this or come into the stores and be able to choose like they are now. So it's just, I think it's getting like really crazy. And so I don't even want to think about what could happen in the next couple of months. But I fear that something really crazy is going to go down. And I hate to be right about that stuff, but it just feels like it's something really bad is going to happen because so many people are losing things that basically are their livelihood. And it's just not a laughing matter. It's not funny whatsoever at all. And so I don't know if anybody takes joy in any of this, it's just shame on you because, you know, and I feel like crime is going to go up. I feel like there's more anger, more anxiety, more fear, that the catalyst for more violence. It could also create an uprising. And that's where this feels like it's headed. And that's the thing that I think is the unfortunate situation that could cause people to be more resistant and more untrusting of government than they already are. People already have their doubts and we've got a lot of stuff. Even me, but this doesn't help. But anyway, with that being said, I guess that's the end of this broadcast. But if you see or know anybody that it may be going through any of this, you might want to warn them to get themselves prepared for what may about to occur, because this is going to be a new thing that is going to be the hot button topic, which was always the hot button topic in the past. People were trying to get people kicked off of food stamps, and they would label it. They say, "Oh, it's the gravy train," and well, it looks like they possibly might be getting their wish for those who've always wanted that. They feel like their tax-paying dollars are going to feeding these families. What's unfortunate is that it always seems like with these programs, there are some people who do use it temporarily and they eventually don't need to have it anymore. But then there are some people who do abuse these programs, and that's what makes it bad for the ones of people really do need it. Their alternative at the time. So it's an unfortunate situation. And it's like all these other programs. Like there's some people who they probably really are trying to work, or they really are trying to do the right thing. But then there's this group of folks who just take things for granted and then they abuse it. And then people who really need these programs begin to suffer because they get rid of they eliminate these programs because they lose the trust of people because they see that there's a group of folks who just take advantage of these uh, government programs and they don't use them to better themselves. And so I think that's what the back and forth fighting is usually about. And then how people put their money in, pay their tax money into these programs, and then you got people who are not really doing what they claim they're going to do. And so that's the sad part. And so unfortunately, this is where we're headed. I wouldn't be surprised if they cut most of these programs out, really. I think they'll phase out over a number of years eventually, till where maybe people will have to rely on a soup line or something. Or like, like they have now, they have food banks. And, there are some food banks, even in like some of the LA areas and some other areas where, you get like a special referral or something, and you go to a food bank and then you pick up food at certain times of the week or whatever. And I think it's going to get to a point where it's reduced to that, where, people are have to go somewhere and rely on donations because it's getting really, really hard out there. But anyway, thank you for listening.